I read The Music Teacher by Barbara Hall, and this takes place in modern day in the US, and it is about a music teacher named Pearl Swine who is going through some life issues. She's just recently gotten a divorce and is just kind of in a rut. She works at a music shop in the city she lives in and is kind of also in a rut with her students because she's realizing that all of them just come to lessons because their parents tell them to. And then after a while, the students just don't care. And then the parents realize they're wasting money. And then, everyone just leaves and music isn't really pursued fully anymore. And so, about the time she's getting really upset about this, she gets this new student named Haley who has an extreme amount of talent but doesn't have a lot of drive to do it. And she's wondering, where this is coming from. And she soon finds out that Haley's parents have both died, and she's now living with her aunt and uncle and cousins, where she doesn't really fit in anymore. And she's only taking these lessons because she had a violin that her father played, and because her parents, or her adopted parents, were getting money from the government for her to do other activities. So there wasn't really a lot of drive for her to do it, but she had a lot of natural talent. And one of the examples she used was that she doesn't really teach her students how to tune their violin because it's really difficult to tune until they've been taking lessons for at least a couple months before. But Haley comes in already knowing how to tune an instrument without ever taking a lesson. So there's just that much raw ability. This book shows a lot of the struggles that Pearl and Haley have being teacher and student, because Pearl really wants to help Haley with her life, and she wants to push her, in the right direction of focusing on music and not on other things, because Haley slips into doing drugs and being with other people that aren't the best. And so, as Haley, or as Pearl, her teacher, is trying to do this, she gets a little off track and never actually gets in a lot of trouble, but gets on the edge. And so it really shows how fine that line is that you have to walk as a music teacher. Also, being that you're an individual lesson, so many things can be said about what's going on that may or may not have happened. One of my favorite things about this book was that it showed that teachers have a life past what happens in their classroom or their studios. I feel like so often parents, sometimes parents, but mostly students, think that the teacher, all they do is teach, because they don't have a life outside of it. And it's so important that people know that they do. A criticism I would have is that it's very hard to follow all of the male characters that also work in the music shop that Pearl gives lessons in, because they all kind of do the same thing, and there's always these arguments going on between them, but it's really hard to keep them straight all the time. So if you were going to do this with a classroom of students, you might want to have a chart of some kind going, or have them taking notes in their book so that they can keep track of these people, because later on in the book it does become important to know who is who so you don't get everyone all mixed up. I think this would be a very good book for people to read. It teaches a lot about music and how important it is to some people, and it shows that it's not just something that you want to do. If you are a musician, you're a musician, and there's not a lot of choice behind it. It's just something that you feel like you need to do, and you need to do it well. So I recommend this book to anyone who wants to learn more about music or being a music teacher, or who is just interested in lessons and those things, because it's a very good learning experience.